was always expectations, not necessarily an expectation that we were going to do a particular job or go into a particular profession, but there was always an expectation that we were going to do the right thing in whatever we chose to do.
Welcome to Just Men, a life changing program that resonates hope as well as encouragement. The program that gives you information and inspiration for the glory of God. I'm your host, Jeff Tate, and thank you for joining Just Men. On today's program, we have a very special guest. He's my friend and from my hometown, Knoxville, Tennessee. Please join us for the first time, Carlton Lewis. Brother Lewis, Judge Lewis,
Thank
welcome
you.
to Just Men.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I am thrilled to be here.
Man, it's a tremendous blessing and pleasure for you to be on our program. And as I tell others, and I definitely tell you offset, that you add value to our program. And we really appreciate you being on our program.
Well, thank you. Ever since we first talked, and you told me about the program that you have, the idea of just being able to reach out and give a message to young people in particular, but anyone who is looking for some hope. It's just something, it was an idea that just set within me, and I've just had it on my mind the entire time, and I'm just so excited and so thrilled to just get a chance to just talk to people and hopefully give them some hope for their futures.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
And you said a very powerful word, hope.
Yes.
Many times people look at hope as though there's a birthright to hope.
Right,
And many
right.
times when they see the example of hope as though they did not have to go through anything in order to obtain that level of hope or faith. So let's begin to kind of pull the pages on your life and growing up and what set the mindset of Carlton Lewis and your upbringing in terms of what's instilling such power and such anointing and such perspective about hope and encouragement.
All right. As you mentioned earlier, I'm from Knoxville. We share the same hometown. Grew up in Knoxville, went to public schools there, and had the blessing or privilege of growing up in a home with parents and brothers and sisters, and there was always expectations, not necessarily an expectation that we were going to do a particular job or go into a particular profession, but there was always an expectation that we were going to do the right thing in whatever we chose to do, and we were going to do well or succeed in whatever it was. Both of my parents were laborers, and they instilled in not only myself but my brothers and my sisters that there's nothing wrong with doing labor. There's nothing to be ashamed of. We were always taught that you should always strive to make honest money. Whatever you do, just do it. Do something that is honest, and by doing it honestly, there's honor in that. So as a young child growing up, I guess I felt comfortable, or there was confidence in me because I knew that I had the support of family and friends, and we were fortunate, my brothers and my sisters, in that we were raised by two parents who believed in God and went to church, and we were expected to be associated with a church congregation. So we were sort of pushed along and dragged along and pulled along all of our lives, but we had structure and we had guidance. And from that structure and guidance, I think we all recognized that there were expectations of us. We were expected to go to school and expected to behave, and we were expected to do certain things at home, and that just carried on. So as I became a young adult, high school and into college, I knew that I knew that there was something that I was supposed to do, and somewhere along the line, I had the idea that I wanted to become a lawyer. And that was during a time, and I think it's still the same way, but certainly at that time, practicing law was still an honorable profession. People who practiced law were considered to be some of the leaders of the community, and they were people that were looked up to by other people in the community. And there was something about that that intrigued me. I wanted to be in a position or be involved in leadership. But I wanted to, again, as I said earlier, I wanted to do something that was honorable and something that was very respected in the community. And I had that hope of becoming a lawyer. And as you alluded to earlier, there's hard work that comes with it, because I was fortunate enough to go to undergraduate and then go on to law school, and I'm fortunate enough to pass the bar exam, and got that opportunity to practice law, and have been doing it for about 26, 27 years now. And it's just something that I love. It gives me an opportunity to help other people, not only in the active practice of law, but since I have become a magistrate or magistrate judge at juvenile court, it has sort of given me an opportunity to help other people who are struggling for whatever reason, not necessarily through any fault of their own, but because maybe things just didn't work out for them, or somebody made a poor decision or exercised poor judgment and find themselves in a struggle with the law to get back on the right side. There's an old saying that we use the law both as a sword and a shield. I try to remember the importance of the shield to protect not only the community and protect not only society, but also to protect young people, particularly the juveniles that I deal with, who maybe made a mistake. We can't just throw our young people away because of one mistake. We have to continue to encourage them, work with them, get them on the right path, get them back on the right path, so that they can become productive citizens. I always look back in my lifetime, as I said earlier, I had supportive parents. I had an older brother and sister who were very, very supportive of me. But I also had other people in the community, church members, neighbors. I was fortunate enough to play Little League sports and sports all the way through high school. So I had coaches who were always supportive of me. There was always somebody. And I think now it's my responsibility or my obligation to be continually supportive of other young people and never give up on them, just like I had people who never gave up on me. And I think that's probably one of the great joys that I get from the work that I do. It doesn't necessarily come immediately, but I've had situations where people, young adults, have come up to me, maybe at the grocery store or just somewhere out in the community, and while I will not always recognize them right off, they recognize me, and they are so proud and so pleased to let me know that their life's going in a positive direction.
Wow.
And while I can't take any credit for it, I'm just glad to have been able to be a part of young people. I always refer to it as seeing that light bulb come on, and they go in a positive direction. They're doing positive things. And as long as any of us can have that kind of positive impact on people's lives, then that lets me know that we're doing something right.
Wow, that's beautiful. Explain a little bit the functions of the juvenile, the magistrate judge that
Right.
you are in your capacity.
And Davidson County is, of course, the second largest county. The statutes provide that each county shall have an elected judge with juvenile jurisdiction, and then based on the size of the county, the judge can appoint other persons to assist them with their caseload. When I started at juvenile court about 14, almost 15 years ago, we had the title of referee, and somebody pointed out, well, not many people understand what a referee does, and the legislature, at the request of the judges conference, changed the title of my position to a magistrate, and a magistrate has the same authority as the judge. The only difference is the judge is elected by the county, and then the magistrates are appointed by the judge. But we have the very same function. The magistrates are actually the trial judges, and then if a person is not satisfied with an opinion or with a decision that the magistrate makes, then they can appeal our decision or request a rehearing before the judge. But it's a title that was changed probably about 7 or 8 years ago to hopefully avoid some confusion. In the federal court system, you have federal judges who are appointed, and they actually are appointed for life, but they have other judicial officers who hear preliminary matters and basically help the judges manage their caseload, and they have the title of magistrate also. So it also gives some consistency throughout the system. I tell people, and a lot of people ask me, well, what do I call you? Do I call you judge, or do I call you referee or magistrate? I said, yeah, during the course of a day, I get called a lot of things, and I'll answer to most of them, but it's a title. One of the things that I try to do is look beyond the title or not get caught up so much in the title. I like to, and all of my colleagues, I think, are the same way. We like to think that we roll our sleeves up and do whatever work needs to be done, and then we relax at the end of the day.
Wow, that's beautiful. Let's talk and dive into the condition of our young people today, particularly from your perspective and what you see on a day-to-day basis. I mean, how do you evaluate, and what is your assessment of our young people today?
I think generally our young people are good people. I think they are faced with very, very difficult choices. I think a lot of our young people are driven so much by peer pressure. I had no idea when I started working at juvenile court, had no idea of the power of peer pressure among teenagers. And I think our young kids want to be accepted by someone. And unfortunately, there are a lot of bad influences out there on our young people. Young people are no different from anybody else. Everybody wants to be loved. Everybody wants some attention. And as we know, if young people don't get that love at home, if they don't get that attention at home, they will seek it somewhere else. And unfortunately, there are gangs and other negative influences out there that will welcome young people in, and they do love them. They care for them deeply. They just start them on a wrong path. And but I think as a general rule, and it's been my experience for the entire time that I've been at juvenile court, our young people are crying out for guidance, structure, boundaries. They want someone to set boundaries for them so that they will know they'll know how far they can go, and they know there's a line out there not to cross over. One of the problems that I see, and it causes me great concern, is the fact that so many parents are interested in keeping their children happy and they try so hard to become their child's friend rather than the person who sets boundaries and guidelines and structure. And I try to tell parents all the time, don't try to be your child's friend, be your child's parent. And while they may not like you at that moment, at the end of the tunnel, when they go into adulthood, they will love you. Now, they'll respect you if you're consistent with your discipline and your guidance and your structure. They're not going to like you. And if parents would just understand that the most important job that they will do as parents is guide their children into adulthood, prepared to face the challenges that are out there, and not worry so much about being their friends, then they will have been successful. I tell people all the time, when I was a kid growing up, there was no such thing as my parents wanting to be my friends. And, you know, they disciplined us. They used methods that would be approved of today. They use methods that might be frowned upon today. But I always tell people, even the methods that people sort of frown upon right now really didn't hurt anything but my feelings, you know, because they did it the right way. But I knew that they did it out of love. And as I got a little bit older, probably too big for them to take me to the wood pile, the physical wood pile, they had instilled within me that mental or psychological wood pile. And what I mean by that is I knew as a teenager and going on into young adulthood, there was something that you just did not do, and that was you did not bring shame on your family name. That was just, you know, that was just a horrible thing to do. It was to embarrass your family by doing something that you had no business doing and things like that. So we got the guidance and the structure, and we got a trip or two to the woodshed as little kids, but we learned from that. And I never had a doubt in my mind about whether my parents loved me, even when they had to physically discipline me on those few occasions. Never had any doubt that they loved me. And as I got older, I began to realize these are things that I never knew existed, but they were trying to keep me away from those things. So I'm so blessed and so fortunate, really, that I had parents who were determined to do what they felt they were supposed to do to make sure that they sent good kids out into the world. So what I want to do, what I hope to do, what I try to do in my job is really to help parents, you know, round their kids up, give them the tools that they need so that when they do go out into the world, you know, they're good kids. And I think kids generally want to be good kids. We as adults have to continuously set good examples for kids. We have to explain to them in ways and terms that they understand. This is what is expected of you, and this is why. These are the alternatives. You know, there's nothing good that's going to come out of this type of behavior or, you know, that type of thing. Generally, young people listen. They struggle, and we know that it's not a overnight job, so we just can't quit. We just can't quit. You know, the Bible teaches, you know, Jesus taught when he was asked, you know, if my brother or my neighbor sins against me, how many times should I forgive him? And, you know, 7 times, and, you know, 7 times, you know, just, you never stop forgiving. We can never stop working with our young people. We can never give up on them. We have to instill within them that sense of hope. We have to let them know, I don't care what you have done, there's still something out there for you. One of the people that I truly admire is Judge Greg Mathis. You know, Judge Mathis grew up in Detroit, was affiliated with a gang. He'll tell you he was doing everything that he thought he was big enough and bad enough to do. And he'll tell you it's a wonder he hadn't gotten killed doing some of the crazy things that he did. But there were some people in his life who saw something in him, and they stayed on him and they stayed on him and they stayed on him. And he finally saw that there was something that he was supposed to be doing. And he went on to law school, practiced law, and now he's a judge and is able to share his story with other young people. Yeah, there's an old saying that nobody really cares how much you know until they know how much you care.
Wow.
And with Greg Mathis, young people in the Detroit area who know his story, they know that he can relate to them because he has done a lot of the same things. He's been out there, and he came in, and now he's able to share his experiences with a lot of young people. And I just want to be able to share whatever knowledge I have or whatever ideas I have with young people, and I want to be there to listen to them. That's one of the things that I have found, that no matter how much we talk to young people and preach to them and lecture them, we also have to stop and listen because they have something to say as well. And I think that is as important as anything else. We have to understand, people of my generation have to understand the language of the younger generation. And we have to understand how they see things, and we have to be able to relate to them on their level and then bring them to a higher level.
Wow.
So there are challenges out there,
Yeah.
but if we don't look at it as a job, and I tell people all the time, since the day I started practicing law, I've never had a job in my life because I never looked at what I do as a job. I looked at it as an opportunity. When I was practicing law, this is what I always wanted to do. And then when I got a chance to become a referee or magistrate judge, I saw very early on that I could have a very, very positive impact on people, or I could be a very, very negative impact. And I chose to try to be as positive as I can. Like I said earlier, there were people that helped me, and I think it's my responsibility to give back by helping others who maybe haven't had life as good or as easy as maybe I had it. I had a struggle, but when I look at other people, I know that my struggle was nothing compared to what they are going through.
Yeah, that's good. That's beautiful. I know that it's interesting you would say about peer pressure, and I know one of the things we've had many men on our program, and they talk about trying to break away from that trap, that in terms of living up to expectations of others.
Right, yeah.
And never coming into their true identity and their true sense of self and structure. And one of the things that a lot of men talk about is that the most valuable thing that I missed from my childhood was the presence of my father or the presence of my mother, the time with them.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that many families now are doing, is selling off their time. They work 3 or 4 jobs or whatever. So the children are raising themselves, and they give them everything, but they don't give them their time.
They don't give them that time.
They don't give them that time.
Yeah.
And so as an advocate, as you are in terms of help developing young minds and so forth, what is it? I mean, what can we do to combat the issues that young people are facing, and as well as to bring ourselves in right position as an adult to model?
One of the things that we have to do, and when I say we, I'm really talking about the judicial system as a whole. Unfortunately, for a lot of people, they have nothing but bad experiences with the juvenile system. We see men who are giving the mothers of their children money for support, and if the mother has received any type of government assistance, then the government is going to seek reimbursement. So quite often they will file suit against the father asking for payment of the child support. And the fathers will say, well, I'm giving her X amount of money every week or every 2 weeks or whatever. And they say, well, that's too bad, but we paid her all of this, so now as the father, you owe this. And a lot of times these men are not making enough money to pay these financial obligations, and quite often they see themselves in jail as a result of, it's as a result of being poor. And what the court system, in my opinion, has to do is create a pathway where men are not afraid to be physically in the presence of their children. They're not afraid that the police or the court system's going to show up and lock them up. We have to make a distinction between those parents who want to provide financially for their kids and those who just don't care, and where we can help build relationships within the family. We have to do that because so many men don't want to be absent, but they fear because they've had negative experiences with the court system. They fear being around, and we've got to, as the professionals, find ways to foster relationships between parents and children, and also look for ways for fathers to provide financial support rather than lock fathers up because they're unable to pay. We need to empower them with job skills and other things so that they can find a job and know that they can have a relationship with their children and not fear going to jail.
Wow, that's beautiful. I know our show has a tendency to bring out the best in everyone in terms of just men, and I know probably those who have come into your presence always feel that they are not beaten down, but inspired and lift up. Last words of encouragement.
I want the people who are watching, who are in a position to reach out and help someone, a young person or an adult. I want my colleagues and my friends who are able to reach back and give something back because someone undoubtedly gave them an opportunity. And to the audience who may feel like they've reached the bottom or they're headed for the bottom of the barrel, don't give up. There's always hope. And sometimes when you feel like there's no hope, then there's only one thing to do, and that's just to reach out and ask for help. And I think generally people will find people who are willing to help. So to those of us who can, let's help out. And for those of us who need it, never give up hope.
Wow, that's beautiful. Stay focused. Wow.
Jeff,
Man, that's
thank
awesome.
you.
Thank you.
I've enjoyed this so much.